There will be spoilers ahead. Lots of spoilers, so be careful, won't you?
It was the end of another series. A series called Remember, You Asked For It. And a light rain of marzipan was falling over the city of fruit bats. My partner Mike was busy cataloging his collection of dryer lint from around the world when she walked into the office. "You've got to help me. I've got a movie I need discussed," she said in a voice so husky it could have pulled a dog sled. "Lady, I think you're in the wrong place," I replied. "We're professional zither tuners. What do we know about movies?" "You know enough," she said, sitting down on what she thought was a divan, but was, in fact, my partner Mike in his lint-collecting uniform. You could sit on him all the same. "Really," I replied, "that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me, but we still can't help you." "Oh, I think you'll change your mind," she growled, reaching into her vintage golf bag. "What are you planning to do with that zirconium-encrusted hedgehog?" I asked in alarm. "You'll see," she snarled. "You'll all see." And that, in a nutshell, is how we came to chat about the movie His Kind of Woman, recommended by Val Kuhns. Wow. I'm your host, Max, 50 kabukis a day plus expenses, Levine, and over there, standing half in shadow, half in peanut butter, is your host, Mike, more lightly braised than hard-boiled, loose. Give us a pithy comment, Mike.
How much are kabukis worth?
Nothing. Kabukis are pancakes.
Dryer lint collection? Really? There's
Sure.
all these records. You could have mentioned those.
Boring. Lots of people collect records. You are alone in your lint collection.
I'm less than alone. I don't do such a thing.
Don't be ashamed, Mike. Come out into the light.
Oh, I came out into the light a long time ago. That closet was small and dark.
And you couldn't find Mr. Tumnus.
I kept looking. It's like I found a scarf, but that was it.
Oh, damn.
Where's the Lion and the Witch? All I've got's a wardrobe.
Have some Turkish delight and hush.
Wow.
So before we get to this week's poll question, I do want to bring in an answer I missed last week.
Oh, no.
For our last week's question about what was a movie that you liked that has an alternate timeline. What if this happened instead?
Oh.
And I missed this one from Mr. Bill O'Lading, definitely not a pseudonym, from Blue Sky.
Blueski.
Yes, Bill O'Lading, a fine Irish lad. He said, Anastasia, 1956 with Ingrid Bergman and Yul Brynner, and 1997, the animated one with Meg Ryan and Kelsey Grammer, both depict the most fairy tale-esque legends of the 20th century. What if a pauper is actually a princess? In both, a poor and troubled girl who cannot remember her past is swept up by some con men who seek to pass her off as the murdered Grand Duchess Anastasia Romanov, not to be confused with the Black Widow, for whom there is an unclaimed reward. The first film leaves it ambiguous whether she is or not, leaning toward is. The new animated version depicts the protagonist explicitly as Her Royal Highness. In reality, the woman who claimed over decades to be the murdered princess was proven via DNA after her death to be a total fraud.
Surprise.
Fun trivia, they compared the deceased fraudster's DNA to the Grand Duchess's living first cousin, Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. This is true.
Huh.
But isn't it nice to allow a fantasy that, in a century dominated by the destruction of entire societies and systems, replaced by isms, world wars, pared-down modernity, and the upheaval that never quite seems to end, at least one authentic fairy tale can squeak through? Of the two, I find the 1956 version to be the superior one. Onward, comrades!
Wow. Meg Ryan and Kelsey Grammer. I can't think of a more awkward combination since Helen Hunt and Jack Nicholson.
Oh, yeah. You also understand the animated version features Yakov Smirnoff as a talking bat.
Does it?
I've seen this, yep. He plays Bartok, the talking bat. What a country!
Not Robin Williams' Batty Coda?
Nope.
Oh.
They couldn't afford Robin Williams, yes.
Okay, well, thank you, Bill O'Lading.
Yes, thank you, Billy lad. Very kind. I'm sorry to have missed you last week, but we've got another one of yours later for this week's poll question, which was,
Poll question.
What kind of movie would you like to see more of in theaters right now? Seth Jacobs says very, very succinctly, documentaries.
Oh,
That
wow.
is true. You don't see documentaries. You often have to go to like little indie theaters or art house cinemas. You don't see them a lot in the major theaters.
No, and I gotta say, as I've gotten older, I've become kind of a documentary fanatic. Not fanatic, but like I really like a good documentary. I was even there was one Criterion Collection made one of theirs for free for a couple of weeks, and it was when David Lynch passed. They had the David Lynch documentary, and I'm not a huge David Lynch fan, but I went and watched it, and it was just, I don't know, it's interesting. I saw a really good one on the Beastie Boys, whom I didn't like, but and dear gods, it's so funny because the two remaining Beastie Boys come on stage, and it's like, where's the Beastie Boys? This is somebody's dad.
Yep.
But I didn't know anything about the Beastie Boys, learned a lot about them, and ended up buying one of their albums, which I actually liked. So, yeah, I like documentaries.
Cool. Documentaries are good. I think we can agree.
Yeah.
Tyler Stewart says, swashbuckling with a fantasy and or horror edge. Like Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3, if they were as well written as Pirates 1.
Oh.
Okay, hard to argue with that.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Brian Mundo says, more original stuff.
Oh.
It seems like a lot of movies in the past couple of years are remakes, retellings, or live-action makes of animated movies. Yeah, pretty on the money there, Brian.
Wait,
yep.
Really? I haven't noticed that.
Hard to believe. And not to mention the fact these live-action remakes of animated movies simply mean computer-animated versions of 2D animated movies.
And I am so waiting for the 2D animated recreations of the 3D animated live action original recreation of the... It's coming. You know it is. We're going to get a reanimated version of Frozen or something any day now.
We're going to get like a fifth version of Snow White or some such.
What is there? There's one... Somebody's redoing Highlander, and I'm like, please don't.
Yes. Yeah.
Just no. And How to Train Your Dragon, and it's being directed by the same guy. Not interested.
Why? They're such good animated movies. Why do you feel like we can do them with people too?
Oh my God.
Now, if you can actually breed some real dragons, I will watch that. I would absolutely watch that. But if they're just CG, forget it.
I'll only watch that if Jeff Goldblum gets to pop in and tell us what a bad idea that is.
Oh, yes. Oh, so bad. No. Dragons, no. Yes, man.
Oh, yes. Now there's the oohing and the eyeing, and later there's the running and the screaming.
The burning. Angelo Patsalis says, more original and not ones from other countries made into American movies. What? No, we'd never.
Yeah, because there's not a long history of that.
Dave says, movies are always more fun in the theater. That is certainly true.
That is true.
I would like to see a movie where I could gorge on popcorn, soda, candy, and ice cream without gaining weight. As would we all. I do enjoy the snazzy theaters that serve wine and cheese, but I miss going to Harvard Square and seeing whatever they wanted to show me at the Brattle. Yeah.
Well, Dave, I have some news for you. They do serve beer and wine at the Brattle now, so...
But not cheese.
I don't know that that's true, actually. That being said, yeah, the Brattle is a little indie repertoire theater in Harvard Square, Cambridge, Mass. That's been there since the 50s, and it is just as cool as it's always been. If you're in the area, go. They have some great programs, including occasionally Trash Tuesdays, where they show movies that are really terrible, and you're encouraged to talk back to the screen.
Mm-hmm. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Christine Santos says, more original storytelling. Oh, now that you're just talking crazy. I'm tired of remakes and sequels. Maybe things related to non-romance. More animated films, not Disney. Doesn't matter, 3D or not. It just has to be good and be made with purpose. Yeah. I also agree with the person above me mentioning pirates. Maybe westerns with a twist.
Oh, pirate western.
Arr, this town ain't big enough for the two of us, matey.
Arr, dude, I got my cutlass and I'm totally going after your treasure.
I don't know. Actually, cowboys on a pirate ship at sea could actually be a lot of fun.
Well, what happens? They hit an island and the ramp goes down and then the horses take off? I mean, how does...
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, if they can have horses running around on spaceships in Star Wars...
Oh, yeah. That. They weren't horses, they were space cows. Okay.
Keith Wright simply says, more horror movies with cool creatures.
Huh.
It'd be nice if the creatures weren't just, hey, this looks funky. It's like, give us a creature with an interesting ability or a bizarre backstory or something that isn't just, blah, eat you, kill you.
Yeah, maybe a stranger thing.
A stranger thing, yes.
See what I did there?
No, what did you do?
I'll clean it up.
Once again, from Bill O'Lading, we have well-written ensemble dramas. Give me more of Conclave. That was good. Where good directors collect good actors who are given good lines. Good directors, good actors, good lines. I think he's gone off the rails here.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. And we can enjoy compelling drama with arguments, agreements, tragedies, and triumphs. No need for CGI, extreme makeup to create Winston Churchill or whoever, or contrived violence, whiz-bang, bang-pow fight scenes. That's why the Kenneth Branagh's Agatha Christie films failed. He added, well, it's one of the reasons, he added big, stupid fight scenes, treating the source material as an annoyance at best or with sadistic contempt at worst. Ouch. My assessment gravitates toward the latter. Other examples. The Two Popes, the Popening. Osage County, A Social Network, that was good. Love Actually, okay. Gosford Park, yeah.
Loved Gos.
A Few Good Men, which we can't handle. And there's nothing more appealing to me than good acting and good dialogue and flawed characters trying their best. There's sadly less and less of it. Very true.
Oh, I don't know. I can handle A Few Good Men.
Hey-o!
Okay, we're
Thank
over.
you. Tip your waitresses.
Sorry, I couldn't help it. It was just sitting right
you
there.
You should have tried harder. And, of course, master of cinema from the Northlands. From, Canada.
Oh,
we have Vince, who says, I don't think having more of a certain type of movie, it's having such a lack of variety out there. I would love to see 1,000 lower budget films allowing as many new ideas and voices as possible over one $500 million Marvel film. We need better distribution of smaller films and more repertory and art cinemas somehow. It's not that there are too many big budget films, it's more there are almost no other kinds of film getting a chance. Yeah, right on there. Absolutely. And, excuse me while I slip into my sexy voice.
Oh, please.
From
slip out again before you fall.
Yes.
I know what's coming.
My little nest of vipers, Doris Hempelmeyer.
Hello, Max Mike Movies. Hi, Max. This is Doris Hempelmeyer here, going to answer your poll question for the week, which is, what kind of movie would you like to see in the movie theaters now? Well, for me, I would like to see some happy movies. You know, nothing fancy, nothing particularly special, just something that makes you feel good. I mean, with everything that's going on in the world today, just something happy. Or something, you know, with some kind of adventure, like Adventures in Babysitting. So a movie like that. That would be fun. Would you go to that movie with me, Max? I hope you would. Look forward to hearing you next week. Bye.
She actually that's one of those. Left us again a sexy voicemail. Yeah. Nice, happy, feel-good movies. Those would be nice. I don't remember what those are like. And, of course, I would go on adventures in babysitting with you. Oh, the movie. Yes, I would go see the movie with you.
Never saw it. Was it any good?
I've never seen all of it. I only saw pieces of it. And parts of it are okay. And it's like one of the first appearances of anyone pretending to be sort of Marvel's Thor, even though he isn't.
Oh. Is there a superhero in that movie?
No, not really. One of the kids is obsessed with the comic book Thor, and they run into this big blonde guy who honestly looks like they should have cast him as Thor. But anyway.
I see. Excuse me, ma'am, but I have something to tell you about your son. Just saying.
Actually, no, it was a little girl.
Oh, never mind then.
Yeah. But what about you, Mike? What are the sort of movies you'd like to see more of in the theaters?
Well, I think the theme that ran rampant through our answers this week is right up there for me, and that is something original
Yeah.
You know, we did that whole series on the 90s way back, and both of us were surprised that there was so much good stuff that came out in the 90s. I also want to say for all the series we did on things like whitewashing and when we did Viola Davis, there's not enough films that have people of any color except white in them. It doesn't matter. If they're a good actor and they're right for the part, it doesn't matter. They should play the part.
Yeah.
Women, too. I've been re-listening to our episodes, and I can't tell you how many times one of our comments says, well, there's a woman character, but she doesn't have a lot to do. So I also even missed the 80s when we had Carol Co. and Orion and these, lower budget, even Empire. We had these lower budget film companies that had ideas. I mean, hell, I think Carol Co. did the first Terminator film, which was, $50. And somebody took a chance, and look what happened. Now, I don't need franchises. I could just be happy with one film that tells me a story. I want a film that tells a story well, and that's it. I don't need 50 other films and TV shows and toys and breakfast cereals and fruit bats.
Okay, breathe, Mike, breathe. Okay. Breathe.
So, I don't want remakes. I don't want sequels. I want something good. And here's the thing. Occasionally you can do something like a superhero film Across the Spider-Verse, and it can be amazing, but you have to take a chance. And they did. But how about you, Max?
It can be amazing. It can be spectacular.
Well, it could be web. No, wait, never mind. This was my question. What do you think? What would grab you and say, I'm going back to the theater?
I'd like to see movies that take more chances. Movies that are more daring, that actually try something that might not work.
Yeah.
I know that that's not going to happen because it's much too much of an industry and nobody wants to do anything that is most likely going to lose money.
I disagree. Nosferatu was right up there. Boy, is that a film that says box office poison. It's like, oh, it's a gothic romance or gothic horror film that takes place in medieval times, or 18th, I guess it was 19th century,
medieval?
19th century.
Yeah, it's
19th century.
Dude, that's Dracula. It's one of the most successful franchises in history. But everyone who saw the ads would think it was. That's why they would go see it.
It's Robert Eggers, who is not a name that pulls people into the theater, but it did well, and they did take a chance. That is not a Hollywood film. And Dracula in this is, how to put this, hugly. He is hugly. Is he ugly? And it was great.
Okay.
That is an auteur film. That is a director who's got not only a specific point of view, but it's not what's out there right now. Yes, it's a remake. Okay. But I even talked about Spider-Verse being a good superhero film that took chances. So those, but I'm with you. Something that takes chances. Dear gods, when was the last time you were challenged at the movie theater?
No, it's been a long time. I think it was Memento.
For me, it was Barry Lyndon, because again, I saw it at the Brattle, and I was like, this is not a film for today's audience. Who was mostly in the theater? 20-somethings, and they loved it. I was like, what? Yeah, Hollywood.
Are you paying attention, Hollywood?
Yeah.
Of course you're not, but...
Us.
Well.
Hello?
We'll keep yelling until you hear us. But... thank you very much. These were great answers. Brought up a lot of interesting stuff, and pretty much we agree with almost all of you.
Yeah.
But we want more, because eventually Hollywood will hear us, and then everything will be wonderful, and there'll be a parade.
Yeah, it's only been 325 episodes. I'm sure they're sitting on the edge of their seats.
I got a good feeling about this one. For a next poll question. Is there a country other than the U.S. whose movies you particularly enjoy?
Oh, I know what Dave's answer is going to be.
That's right, Lithuania. And
but it could be Malaysia.
We'll tell you at the end how to get in touch with us. But now, the facts. Oh boy, budget about $850,000.
Oh,
box office. Well, kind of none.
What?
The movie lost $850,000.
How was that possible?
Because the hype for it, the post-production stuff, the advertising, cost another $850,000.
So it only made $800,000?
It made I believe $825,000. So it actually lost.
Wow.
It made less than its budget. Yeah, this was.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cripes.
The direction of this movie, which is based on the unpublished story Star Sapphire by Gerald Drayson, is credited to John Farrow.
Okay.
He did not actually end up directing it.
Oh, that's a good sign.
After Farrow turned in what he thought was the finished film, RKO boss Howard Hughes, that Howard Hughes, intervened and caused extensive rewrites, recasting, and reshooting under the supervision of Richard Fleischer, whom Hughes coerced into cooperation by threatening not to release The Narrow Margin, a film that Fleischer had just finished for RKO.
Wow.
This post-production process took a great deal of time and money, costing the same amount that the film ended up losing at the box office in its initial release.
Oops.
Yeah. In later interviews, Robert Mitchum, who stars, admitted that much of the script was made up as they went along.
Mitchum!
Yeah.
McClintock.
RKO had to lower the bottom of the pool on stage 22 to get the Mexican police submerging to the level required by Howard Hughes.
Oh, good.
Yeah, this is one of those movies where the making of the movie is at least as interesting as the movie itself.
Wow.
In his memoirs, Richard Fleischer, who directed the studio-imposed reshoots, recalled that Robert Mitchum's alcoholism caused a lot of problems for the production. One time, when Fleischer was forced to shoot a scene with Mitchum, when Mitchum was intoxicated, Mitchum kept pushing off the stuntmen in the scene who were trying to hold him down. Finally, Fleischer told Mitchum he's making a complete fool of himself and Fleischer. Mitchum got so angry with the remark, he then proceeded to demolish the entire set.
Great.
The next morning, a then sober Mitchum realized what he'd done the previous day and was very remorseful, deeply apologizing, and he caused, allegedly, no further problems for the rest of the reshoots.
Didn't we hear about this in, what was that film?
Night of the Hunter?
Night of the Hunter. Didn't we hear about the same thing? Okay.
Yeah. Mitchum was a challenging actor to work with.
Mitchum!
Nick Ferraro's yacht was built entirely on RKO's Stage 22, at the time the largest soundstage in the world. Initially, only a bridge set was called for, but the studio owner Howard Hughes wanted more fighting scenes and more of everything in the finale, so they built an entire ship.
Okay.
Yeah. The production of this movie was so long that Vincent Price proposed to celebrate by a party at the end of the first year of shooting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cripes.
Originally, Raymond Burr was not cast as the bad guy.
Who was he cast
as Ferraro. He wasn't in it.
Oh.
Lee Van Cleef was cast as the crime kingpin, and then Howard Hughes just suddenly decided he wanted Raymond Burr. This was, by the way, after they had shot all of Ferraro's scenes, and they had to reshoot all of them with Burr.
So this is where they got the idea when they released Godzilla in the United States.
Yes, I see.
Okay.
Richard Fleischer fixed the new ending of the movie. He had to discuss it with Howard Hughes, who was partially deaf, and Fleischer had to yell at him the whole time.
Okay.
By the way, you mentioned that, before the show that there are a lot of people from a lot of things in this movie. Did you spot Mamie Van Doren's first film appearance?
I did not. She was one of the only people I didn't notice.
Yeah, she was one of an uncredited lodge guest.
Wow, Mamie Van Doren. Whew.
Mary Van Doren. We'll get to the rest of the cast, which is quite a thing unto itself.
Yeah.
Vincent Price as Mark Cardigan, obviously father of Jake Cardigan.
Who's that?
For you Tech War fans.
Oh, dear God, really? Why do you know that? Please tell me you didn't read that book.
I read the first 2 pages and got bored. That's it. I couldn't get any further.
Oh, Shatner.
Yeah. Vincent Price is often intentionally slumping in this movie, wearing oversized clothes and makeup to make his face look rounder and less handsome. The attempt is clearly to make him look less imposing and less attractive than the hero, Robert Mitchum. He's, because Vincent Price is 11 feet tall, tends to tower over people.
Yeah, and you could tell even with the slumping. The slumping,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
The slumping, yep. When Lenore, Jane Russell, is walking on the beach saying she'd like to go that way towards Tahiti, Dan counters that Bikini is out there too. For you history buffs, Bikini is the island where the U.S. tested the nuclear bomb that was so much more powerful than expected that the island and surrounding area is still too radioactive for humans to live even now.
Awesome.
So that was another big bomb. Howard Hughes's whimsical decision to shoot the boat sinking scene with Vincent Price cost $150,000.
Okay.
You got that, like almost a sixth of the budget. And Vincent Price's character quotes lines from all of Shakespeare's big four tragedies, and in so doing, transforms the film into a comedy.
Yeah, we'll get back to that.
And here's just some nerd stuff. At the poker game, Dan pulls out a $1,000 bill from his shoe.
Sure he does.
Although they're still legal tender, the last $1,000 bills were printed on December 27th, 1945, and were officially discontinued in 1969.
Nerd.
As of 2020, there are 165,372 $1,000 bills in existence and have largely become collector's items.
Nerd.
The first ones had Alexander Hamilton's on the front, but because he was also on the 10, they thought that the public would get confused. Yeah, it's easy to confuse $10 with $1,000.
Wait a minute.
So they put Grover Cleveland's face on it.
Wait a minute.
Yeah?
Alexander Hamilton and Raymond Burr? I'm sensing a conspiracy.
God. It's so obvious when you think about it.
Because you know Raymond Burr killed Alexander Hamilton. It's in the play.
That's right. Well, there's other stuff, mostly about the difficulties and ridiculous expense and length of making this movie.
Hey,
but
speaking of length, tell us the plot, won't you?
You bastard. Oh, boy. Dan Milner is a down-on-his-luck guy who does something or other. I don't know. I think he's professionally hard-boiled. Out of nowhere, he gets an offer to make a bundle of simoleons by getting on a chartered plane with Jane Russell and flying off to El Sombrero, Mexico. Hey, you had me at Jane Russell. Feeling like he has no choice, apparently, Milner goes along with it for the promise of 50,000 Buck Rogers. Down in what is allegedly Mexico, Dan meets a bunch of colorful characters, including a movie star / great white hunter, a confusingly sleazy hotel manager, and Thurston Howell III. While falling in love with Jane Russell, Dan discovers he's being paid to be part of a nefarious plot involving a deported Italian gang boss, played by Raymond Burr, who plans to use a former Nazi plastic surgeon to steal Dan's face and identity as a way to sneak back into the U.S. I'm not making this up, because why do anything the easy way, like bribery or something?
Yeah.
There's witty badinage, poker games, money laundering. Literally, Dan irons his money, and a sudden detour into the most dangerous game, fighting on a boat, torture, and a final fight worthy of Danger Island. Confused? You won't be after this week's episode of Soap. The film.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Indeed.
Giving something away there, Max. But yeah. So I'm going to ask my usual question. Have you heard of this film before?
No, I'd never heard of this film.
I can't imagine
Which
why.
It's actually surprising to me considering who's in it. We got to talk about the cast.
Yeah, speaking of which, who was in this?
I mean, good Lord, Robert friggin' Mitchum is the star.
Mitchum.
Jane Russell.
Yeah. Well, wait. Let's do this as we usually do. Let's stop and talk about this.
Robert Mitchum is the thing is he is supposed to be a tough guy.
Sure.
Because Robert Mitchum, let's face it, probably was. If there is one thing Robert Mitchum is good at, it's being intimidating, imposing. Except for the first hour and a half, he doesn't really do anything that's particularly intimidating or imposing.
Yeah.
Last half hour, he turns into Batman, but.
Well, and my note for Mitchum was Mitchum's character seems capable, but besides gambling badly and being beat up, we don't know what he's good at.
Well, apparently he's being good at getting caught and roughed up. How do you know? I always get caught and roughed up.
I think Mitchum is fine given the part that he's been handed.
He's doing the best he can, yes.
Well, when
I
he's...
agree. No, he is.
I love the
When he's
part
sober.
where every time he's in a bar, he's like, I'll have a glass of milk. Ooh, glass of milk, don't tempt me. Is that like a comment on Mitchum himself? Like, you're not even going to get to drink on camera. No.
I wouldn't be surprised. I gotta say, though, Robert Mitchum is probably one of the only men alive who could order a glass of milk and still make it sound tough.
Yeah, he's fine. It's not. This is not a role that defines him or that you'll seek out
unfortunately,
necessarily.
most people don't remember.
Yeah.
Then there's Jane Russell. Hamana.
Fine.
Yeah, no, she was. She was basically a sex symbol. As somebody once said, Howard Hughes used to cast her for 2 reasons, and they were outstanding.
Now, here's the thing. Do you know, or did you find out through the trivia whether it was her singing or not?
It is her singing. She can sing.
Well, and good for her.
Her big one, her big role is Gentlemen Prefer Blondes. She's with Marilyn Monroe. And
right.
She actually is pretty good. She can sing, she can dance, she can be funny.
Just not in this film.
Yes, here it's just, hello, have I shown you these?
Well, I don't think it's that bad, but her part is weird. So she plays this fake ingenue, I guess, who pretends that she has money and she's just down here, throwing it away, when in fact she's trying to pony up to a film star and marry him so that she can then have money, because she doesn't really have money, which I guess is fine. But they literally, at the high point of the film, they literally lock her in a closet and we pan away and never see her till the end of the film again. It was a weird
it's like
choice.
The last 20 minutes or so, it's like, okay, bye, slam.
Yeah, which, how many hotels have you been to that have locks on the closets, but whatever?
0, really, but...
Yeah, it probably cost $10,000. But, I mean, I don't blame her. I think she's fine. Her singing is fine, but I gotta say, the two songs... utterly unmemorable.
Oh, God, yeah. Just a waste of time. And a waste of her, because she can be very good, but she's given... It's not so much she's given nothing to do, she's not given anything to do that makes any sense, but we'll get to that, too. I
think her character is actually potentially really interesting, but they don't really do anything with it, except tell us. And then Mitchum pretends at the end that he knew all along, and I didn't even buy that, but whatever.
And then we got Vincent Price.
Yeah.
Who I remember Robert Mitchum, Jane Russell, and Vincent Price? Well, one of these things is not like the other.
And yeah, that's kind of how I felt about him in this film. I think he's miscast.
I think so. I think that whole character, especially at the end, and we'll get to that, is a mismatch. It's very, very odd.
Well, what they really wanted was they wanted an action star who was just about to go past his prime. That's what they wanted.
They wanted Errol Flynn, I assume.
I was thinking 51, he was probably past his prime at that point, because he talked about how his last film was a bomb, and I think the last film for Errol Flynn was a big deal, was probably the 40s. So they wanted somebody like that, but they got Vincent Price, who is not really the right person for this part. So at least that's how I felt.
Well, we'll get to that later when we talk about the actual performances and the plot. We got a minor part, Tim Holt as Lusk.
Yeah.
Bill Lusk. Tim Holt, the only interesting thing to me about Tim Holt is he is a cowboy actor. He's been in like 9,000 cowboy movies. This was one of the very few where he isn't a cowboy.
Yeah.
And I'm done.
If I'm not mistaken, he also shows up in an episode of MASH.
That would not surprise me.
Yeah, which is where I knew him from.
Charles
McGraw's Thompson is fine.
Yeah. I kept waiting for another guy named Thompson to show up, but...
Well, that's only if you're into Tintin, but...
Yeah.
Tintin.
Yeah. Tintin.
Yeah.
And Marjorie Reynolds as, Mrs. Helen Cardigan, she was actually kind of interesting. I think she does a nice job. She has about, 5 lines?
I guess.
And she doesn't make a lot of sense.
I don't need her part. She doesn't need to be here. I hate to say this, but you could have cut her out and it would have changed
She's
literally
a plot
nothing.
point.
Yeah.
It's very
But...
And now we have Raymond Burr, that famous Italian actor.
Okay. Let's get past the part that he's supposed to be Italian or of Italian descent.
Yeah.
I think he's the best actor in the film. He comes off as really menacing, and I believe him as being scary. Yeah.
He is.
I'm sitting there reminding myself, yeah, he's gay. What? Wait, what? Yeah. Burr was known in Hollywood.
I knew that.
Yeah, he's gay. But and I know he was really threatening in Rear Window as well, but he had that weird white stuff in his hair to make him look older, which I never understood. I think it was very painfully obvious to me once you told me the trivia that it's like, oh yeah, we recast him and he was originally, who did you say it was? Not Eli Wallach. Lee Marvin. It was originally Lee Marvin. And we had to basically cut him back into the film because he's literally at the very beginning of the film and then you wait almost 2 hours for him to come back. So he's not in the film for most of it, which if he's the villain, I thought he was good. I really liked him in his part, as small as it was and as he's literally missing for most of the film, but I thought he did very well.
Yeah. Leslie Banning as Jenny Stone.
Don't remember her.
I think she was. Nope, she wasn't. I was going to say she was the wife. She was going to say she was the wife of the card player. I don't remember who she is either.
Oh, so, yeah, she was. Okay, she was. That was the Casablanca subplot that made no sense.
Oh God,
she was the.
That
the
was
young...
such an obvious shot at. No, she wasn't actually. That was another one. Dorothy Abbott. Oh, no, she's one of the card players.
She probably is. That probably is her.
Let's just say she was.
She plays the young woman who's trying to get out of Casablanca and get back to the States, but her young husband, who's Hungarian somehow, even though he has an American accent, blah, 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 blah. It's a weird subplot, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's clearly trying to be either a nod or a ripoff of the sequence in Casablanca.
Yeah.
Where, Rick gets to do something nice through gambling, and here we get to see that, look, Rick, Dan is a nice guy. Well, I'm glad you told us because there's no way to tell otherwise.
Yeah.
But then we have... one of the big surprises, here's Jim Backus as the card shark.
Yeah.
Myron
Winton. And for Jim Backus, he's actually pretty restrained. But
he does say, by George, at one point, but that sort of slips out.
But he is also part of a subplot that's... Well, we'll get to this, but it's quite honestly unnecessary. For Jim Backus, he's fine, but let's face it, we all know him as Thurston Howell the Third, and that's what we're looking at, even though that's still 15 years away. It doesn't matter. So,
it's hard
Philip Van Zandt, I want to mention him. Did he remind you of somebody else? He played the Morrow, the guy who owns the place?
Yes!
No, he reminded me of John Lovitz.
I guess so, a little bit, yeah.
Who is that? Who is the character John Lovitz did that was the actor?
Who's Master Thespian.
Yeah, he reminded me of that. The little mustache and just his mannerism. Yeah. As soon as he showed up, I started laughing, which is inappropriate.
That works.
John Mylon is Martin Kraft. Here's one of the actors that I know him from something else. He actually played a scientist who created a flying saucer toy in an episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show called Uni Oofts. Yes, Uni Oofts. Right. And I watched him going, that can't be the same guy, but sure enough it was. He's terrible.
He is not very good. Isn't he also the one who ends up being the evil plastic surgeon?
He is, yeah. He's the German guy. Yeah, he's terrible.
Yeah,
he's absolutely terrible.
Yeah. He's very bad, and I don't buy him as German at all, even though I think he might actually be German. No.
I don't buy him as an actor. I buy him as German.
He's probably the worst thing in the movie. In terms
we can skip a couple here because we don't know who they are. But I do want to talk about Fat Hoodlum because Fat Hoodlum is my favorite character in this film.
Absolutely. This movie would not exist. Fat Hoodlum makes the movie.
Wow. Do you really want that on your resume? You might know me as Fat Hoodlum.
Poor guy, that is how he is listed in the credits. That's on his resume. You know that.
And let's face it, at this point, we're into and the rest, except I do need to point out when we get to the ship and Raymond Burr's character, Ferrero, is there, his right-hand man, the only thug that talks, is Bella Oxmix from A Piece of the Action.
Well, also, you pointed out to me, one of the guys we see in Italy who's in one scene is Paul Frees.
Paul Frees in a rare on-screen performance, not doing voices.
The great voice actor Paul
Boris
Frees.
Badenoff, among many others. But it was very, very weird to see Paul Frees. So we have performances that range from terrible to fine.
Well, to me, they range from terrible to God love him, he's doing his best. I
guess, except the drinking. Always the drinking. So, I saw Howard Hughes' name pop up in the beginning of the film, and I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
We're going to have excesses.
Technically, he was the studio head, but he is, in effect, the uncredited producer of the movie, because he came in and said, nope, you've done it all wrong. Do it this way.
Well, and here's the thing. You can see it. No? You can see it because there's, like, I want to say that the set for the hotel, like, they built the whole hotel, never mind the ship. You can tell they built the whole hotel, and it is expansive. And I'm like, oh, he just loved to spend money on his movies, whether they made any money or not. They didn't. And so you can, as soon as I saw that name, I was like, we're going to have some trouble. There's going to be some weird directorial choices. We're going to have some, big sets for not particularly any reason. And sure enough, that's what happened. So, there's a weird scene in the beginning where I guess Mitchum just got out of jail from somewhere, and now he's at this little cafe that he goes to, and there's this really odd tension between Mitchum and the only black character in the entire film.
Yeah.
Could you figure out what was going on there?
I had no idea. I thought we were going to find out more about that. Yeah. Also, the way the guy was standing and the way he wouldn't look, I'm like, is he supposed to be blind?
You know what? Sadly, the thing that came to mind was, I wonder if Mitchum was kind of racist when he got drunk and the guy was afraid of him. It
wouldn't surprise me. Mitchum could be dangerous. I mean, he was also insanely strong.
Especially if you're a ship, because apparently he can rip those apart with his bare hands.
Yeah, beats them up, yep.
This is considered a noir, but we don't really get noir until we get down to the hotel, which is not in Mexico. It's actually, I got to quick. The hotel is not in Mexico. It's in Baja. We know that because they show us on the little Indiana Jones map. So they go to Mexico first, and that's where he picks up Jane Russell, but then they go to Baja, so it's not really Mexico.
See, I got to disagree with you. Right away, this movie looked like it was shot to be noir. There's a lot of deep shadow, a lot of people standing half in shadow, half out, a lot of people getting beaten up for no apparent reason.
But Max, there's milk.
Yeah, that's kind of, the milk and the ginger ale are kind of problems.
Yeah, it's like it's trying in the beginning and then suddenly it's not noir anymore.
We get to Baja and it's like, everything's so brightly lit. And
and there's rich people.
Being funny and it's not raining.
No.
I mean, there's a hurricane, which, by the way, blows a lot of wind and there's not a drop of rain anywhere.
Yeah, but, whatever. When he first meets up with Jane Russell, she's inexplicably singing alone in a bar, i.e., there's people with her in the band, but there's no customers. And I'm like, look, she's got a nice voice, and it's Jane Russell. Why is this place empty?
Yeah.
I don't get it. And then she puts on a witch's hat and leaves. Because what was with that orange street cone, construction cone she puts in her head?
Oh, now, by the way, this I cannot prove. But a little Mexican boy comes to speak to her and say, Senora, the plane is ready to depart. The kid is played by Daniel De Laurentiis.
Oh, no.
I cannot prove this. There's nothing in the database. But I think there's a relation there.
But he's Italian, and this is supposed to be Mexican.
Yes, the kid is Italian. Yeah. By the way, there are virtually no Mexican people in this movie that takes place in Mexico, including the Mexican police. Then including the ones who walk around going, "Ay, senor, we must go out to the boat. They will attack our village."
Well, technically, because we can see this as the plane is approaching, because apparently this hotel in the middle of nowhere, Baja, California, has its own landing strip. But the name, I don't know if you caught this, but you could only tell in the faraway shot as the plane's coming in. The name is Puerto Painto. Because that is one of the worst.
Why don't they just
it's a terrible matte painting. It is so obvious that it's a matte painting.
Just call the place, Puerto de la Baclato.
Well, it's a painting. It's an obvious painting. It's there. The hotel, again, is a very expansive set, but...
Yeah, it's impressive looking.
Yeah, and once we land... Well, okay, so we start off the film. We have a bad guy in Italy. He's in Italy. We know this because they show a map of Italy and they tell us it's Italy. So we know it's Italy. It looks just like Naples, I'm sure. Yeah. And then we cut away from that plot and go and we're dealing with... Robert Mitchum's point, which is like, we're going to hire him to do something. We're not going to tell him or the audience what it is, but we're going to hire, and we're going to take him first to Mexico and then to Baja down to this nifty hotel, not Ferraro's, but...
You forgot there's a major plot point in that the Italian gangster Ferraro has been deported from the U.S. He was a big New York mob boss, and they couldn't get him on... I guess they couldn't arrest him, as they couldn't for a lot of them.
Right.
So they brought immigration in and threw him out of the country, and he's trying to get back in, because he feels he has been wronged. By the way, there is a line at one point that Dan has. I want information, and I'm beginning not to care how I get it. And in my notes I have, said the audience.
Well, and they take a really long time. I think it's like an hour and a half to finally tell us why he's there, because the only skills that we've been able to find out that he possesses are he's never been arrested for a federal crime, which, hey, you and me could have gone up for that part.
Well, as it turns out later, it's also he has no family. He doesn't have any friends. So he's like a non-entity.
Sure, I guess.
Yeah. But and we know this because they tell us he is.
Well, okay, so that's where Lusk shows up. So one of many side plots in this hotel in the middle of Baja, California, that pops up is a federal officer pretends to be somebody else and drunkenly lands in the middle of the night during this hurricane, and he's just supposedly this drunk guy, playboy, whatever, except he's really a federale, and he basically shows up to tell us what we've been waiting to know for over an hour.
And then die.
And then he gets killed. And that's okay, fine. That's
after singing Ramblin' Wreck from Georgia Tech.
Sort of, but yeah. We also have the plot of the Stolen from Casablanca, where we've got the young couple that have somehow come down here with very little money, which doesn't seem to be possible, but okay.
Yeah.
And he's losing all of their money at gambling for reasons we don't know, except maybe I guess he's supposed to be well, he's supposed to be one of those compulsive gamblers that, whatever.
Maybe. Well, it happens. People get caught up in this stuff, and he's being taken by, of course, Thurston Howell III, because we know there was an episode where we find out Howell is really good at poker, so obviously.
Oh, hate opera, love polka.
Love polka.
Oh, I forgot one of the character. I said we would talk about this. I have to go back to the actors. There is an actor in here, and I wish I could remember which one it was. But one of his part. Oh, I know who it is. It's the same guy who played the German scientist. He was in the film that unites all Hollywood films, at least as far as this show is concerned, and that is he was in Robot Monster.
Oh God! Oh no! Now that you say it, I can see it. He was the old scientist. Of course, the core movie of this show.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry.
He was one of the human. Anyway.
Yeah. So
thank you for bringing that back. Yeah.
One of the many subplots is there's this couple and they're trying to get back to the States from Casablanca. I'm sorry. No, wait. They're on their honeymoon. There's one line that she has. The wife at one point says, "Well, we're on our honeymoon and he just wants to gamble, so I understand that." And I'm like, wait. What?
Red flag.
That's not what you do on a honeymoon. And besides, you're a very nice-looking young woman. Why isn't he doing stuff with you? Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
And then we've got the whole subplot which, to be fair, we need with Jane Russell, who's there saying, "Oh, I've got $1 million. I've got $1 million. I don't have $1 million," which is my incredible impersonation of Jane Russell.
It's like she was here with us.
Hey, buddy, I'm going to sing a song.
She didn't have a smoker's rasp.
I know. Go ahead, you impersonate Jane Russell. But it doesn't... It's like, okay, she's a phony, and she's going after Vincent Price, but it doesn't really go anywhere, because then we have Vincent Price's wife show up, and he thought they were getting divorced.
Yep.
Yeah, he thought they were getting divorced. So...
Yep. She didn't know that... She must have known that the woman existed, because the guy's a super famous actor.
Yeah.
Like, everybody at the resort recognizes him.
Oh, she's after him. She's totally after him on purpose. But, why do we need to drag in this whole subplot of, oh, the wife who wants to divorce me is showing up now, and she doesn't want to divorce me, and she's fine having a fake relationship, like in Hollywood, but Vincent Price is meanwhile actually fallen in love with Jane Russell, which, to be fair, I can actually understand.
Yeah.
But It's just, why do we need this?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there I don't understand why it's in there.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole character of Cardigan, the movie star, is very confusing because he starts off, he's kind of this goofy, I want people to like me. When we first meet him, he's coming back from a hunting trip. Apparently, he's very into hunting. It's very important we know that he likes hunting and shooting things and eating them, which is fine, although also stuffing them, apparently. But
only the fish.
He doesn't seem like, hi, I'm a big celebrity, everyone wants to know me. It's like, oh, look, everyone seems to want to be Dan's friend. Everybody wants to hook up with him or hang out with him, even though...
Wait, Dan or Mark? Dan is Mitchum. Mark Cardigan is Vincent
Dan.
Price.
I mean, Dan. Yeah, because Cardigan wants to hook up with it. Come on, please say you like hunting. We'll go hunting.
Well, now wait, let's be fair. Mitchum's whole plot character when he gets to the resort is to wander up to anybody and go, slalom, buddy, slalom.
Yeah, pretty much.
He knows he has a contact, but he doesn't know who it is, so he assumes it's everybody.
He doesn't know who it is, doesn't know what he's there.
So yeah.
Now, to be fair on the plot, by the way, Dan isn't just there because they said, hey, we'll pay you a lot of money, we're not going to tell you what. The bad guys have gone out of their way to make his life as difficult as possible. All these gangs keep saying he owes them money. He gets thrown in jail for no reason. So they basically make it much more enticing for him to leave the country.
Well, now, wait a minute. He was thrown into jail for something he did do. He admitted that at the cafe. But after that, they just show up and say, you owe us $600 for that horse you bet on. I was in jail at the time. No, you weren't. Smack, smack, smack.
Yeah, that's really also points out that all these other mob bosses or whatever say that he owed them money. He's like, I don't. I'm really good at what I do. I'm a professional gambler, and I didn't owe them money.
Well, the only one they say he owes money to is the $600 for whatever that horse was. And after that, we see him gamble once. And he does, I have to say, Jim Backus must be blind because...
Yeah. He swaps two of his cards for the guy next to him. After telling Jane Russell, I don't cheat. If you're good enough, you don't have to cheat. Except that's how you won. Well, you cheated.
I think the implication was that Jim Backus had been cheating. And that's why he announces the fourth ace before he actually shows it to go basically, if you want to call me on cheating, you can, but I'm going to call you on the same thing. So, but we didn't need that. We didn't need that. And we know what else we didn't need. We didn't need the Vincent Price character going from slightly bumbling and a little odd to full-on comedy. Like that whole thing with the boat, he basically, at the end of the film, they know Dan's in trouble.
Wait. I'm going to stop you there because we got other stuff before we get to the boat because that's a big thing.
Well, we got to hurry because we're running out of time.
Okay, but to me it starts out when he's cooking what I thought was a possum, but turned out to be a duck.
How many possums have you eaten?
None of your business. There's good eating on them. And when it turns out he finds out his wife has shown up, I swear he's about to do Jerry Lewis. Oh, good. She's getting the wife with the person. Oh. And yes, you're right. Then he goes from sort of goofy actor to bumbling to action hero.
At the same time.
All at the same friggin' time.
Yeah. And it's this scene, this inexplicably unnecessary scene, the one that cost $150,000, where he knows that Dan's in trouble and I am not slow. It's hip, 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 and away I go. Yep. He gathers
Dan is being held on the gangster boat.
He gathers the Mexican police who are there for reasons nobody understands. Puts too many of them on the boat. They launch the boat and it sinks and everyone's standing in knee-deep water going, ay caramba. And then there's another boat and they get on that one. Like the tonal shift in this is just like, why are you...
ridiculous.
Noir doesn't have comedy bits in it.
Not like that. You occasionally have comedy relief. You said somebody will make a joke, or there'll be one goofy character.
You ever been stung by a dead bee? You ever been stung by a dead bee? But it's not funny. It's just, it's flavor. This is like you're drinking champagne cocktails and suddenly somebody hands you a Bosco. Like, why is this here?
Or sprays you with a seltzer bottle.
Yeah.
Yeah, suddenly it's just... And he's going around quoting Shakespeare.
Yeah.
He's quoting all of the big tragedies. One comedy, he quotes Midsummer Night's Dream.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is just making you look sillier and sillier.
Well, it's to prove he's an actor, I guess, but whatever.
Yeah, because if you're an actor, you know Shakespeare. Sure, okay.
Yeah. We're out of time. I'm sorry, but we're out of time.
Yeah. Oh, man, okay.
Yeah, we really are out of time, so I'm going to have to ask.
The finish.
So, Max.
Yeah.
If it wasn't obvious, what did you think of his kind of woman? Well, what about the title for? What has that got to do with anything?
I don't know. All I kept thinking of is Animal on the Muppet Show when Rita Moreno was there and she hits him and he just comes up and goes, "My kind of woman!"
I mean, sure, the Robert Mitchum and the Jane Russell characters fall in love, I guess. How was their chemistry to you?
I gotta say, the lines are so bad, but the back and forth between them was tolerable. It's just so many of I know, isn't that, you're tolerable smolder. I mean,
you're so suitable.
Banter, yes, it just doesn't make sense a lot. And when he says, when she's pointing off to the west or toward Tahiti and go, "You're not going to find a thing except yourself." Whoa.
Sand, wind, dude.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, what did you think of the film overall?
I think it's terrible. I don't know, there might have been one good film in there, but we're looking at 8. It's like, it's film noir. It's sort of a romance. It's wacky. It's an action film. The last half hour, no, not even the last half hour, I said the last 25 minutes. Suddenly we're in an action movie, and I kept waiting to hear da 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 when he's on the boat fighting everybody, and the Nazis. I'm going to inject you with this magic Nazi juice that wipes your memory permanently, and then a year later you die. What?
Magic Nazi juice.
That's what it was.
I know.
So he says he got it from the Nazis. It's magic Nazi juice. No, this is terrible. It is a waste of some really good actors, too.
Yeah.
And I know where I can pretty much guess, but what did you think?
As soon as I saw Howard Hughes' name, I knew we were in trouble. I was just like, there's gonna be all sorts of weird choices. There's gonna be money spent in the wrong place. And sure enough, that's what this was. There's, just like you said, there's way too many subplots. The acting ranges from okay to what the hell. I mean, the Vincent Price character, it's as if in the middle of a Jerry Lewis comedy, he literally starts killing people. Like, how is these two things do not go together? And there seems to be no repercussions. All of the Mexican police just listen to Vincent Price and do what he tells them to do. Even when he sinks the boat, they're like, "Okay, senor, we get into the other boat." It's like, really?
It still gets me. We see how he gets them to do it. Anyone who volunteers gets a part in my next movie. Sure, that's worth getting shot for.
Yeah, and it's just, the film goes on way too long. The last act, which probably takes about a half an hour, and this is a 2-hour film, is all this thing on the boat, and it just goes on and on. We see scene after scene after scene of them about to inject Robert Mitchum, when we know it's not going to happen. And then he struggles and gets away, and then they have him hold down again, and then blah, blah, blah. And when he finally breaks out and goes to their gun cabinet, really, none of the guns are loaded. Really?
Nope.
I don't buy it. And then the scenes with him running through the boat, and he's like, they're shooting. There isn't anybody in this film that can shoot anything. They're all terrible.
No. They shoot a lot of people in the arm. A lot of people. Vincent Price, by the way, gets shot in both arms and basically just goes, wow, that hurts. And then he can still function perfectly well.
Well,
did you notice, by the way, Mitchum does a Captain Kirk? He's bleeding out a corner of his mouth, and he does the wipe it away and look.
Well, that's because Bella Oxmix was right there. So
that's it.
It's just now. I think the core of the plot, which is a man down on his luck, gets out of jail, is trying to keep out of trouble, is forced back into it by being offered a large amount of money he can't refuse to do something he doesn't even know what it is. I think there's a core of a good idea here. I kind of want to see the film they originally shot to see if that was like maybe a lot better. I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised because, again, they have a good cast.
But It's like this film is dying to be iconic. It's dying to be Key Largo. It's dying to be Casablanca in some really obvious ways.
Quote it.
Yeah. And it's just, I'm going to go with Howard Hughes just screwed the whole thing up. That's my feeling.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But you know, it isn't screwed up, and that's our poll question. Max, would you go over that again? Sorry, Val. I'm glad you like it, but no, we didn't care for it.
No, sorry. My question was, is there a country other than the U.S. whose movies you particularly enjoy? And you can answer this question by emailing us at maxmikemovies.com.
Ooh.
You can go to our website, maxmikemovies.com, and leave a comment. You can find us still on the Batch face.
Facebook. Just say Facebook,
under Max
please.
Mike Movies. We're also on Blue Sky. And now you can find us on Mastodon, all under. There we're at Max Mike Movies.
Oh, Mastodon, that's new, or is it?
That is.
Wait, those are like from thousands of years ago,
and they're delicious. But
cool,
especially with possum. Or you can call our hotline.
Yep.
Yes, as my little rutabaga Doris Hempelmeyer does at 617-398-7266. That's 617-398-7266, and I know because Mike is mouthing the number along with me.
Oh, and podcast app of your choice, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah, podcast. But that brings us to the end of Remember You Asked For It. And I got to say, I've had a lot of fun with these.
Yeah, thank you very much for your suggestions. We saw a bunch of films we never would have seen. I think we revisited one or two, like Fifth Element, which, to be fair, we often don't actually watch these movies. We have them on in the background, and it's good to actually sit and watch them. So thank you all for your great suggestions.
Really, these were terrific. But we got a whole brand new spanking series coming up. Mike, tell us what it is.
Well, we are going to revisit the series that started our little podcast, but this is the third time around, so we have a special title for it. It is called I Can't Believe You Haven't Seen That 3, The Rebelievening. Because remember, rebels robble, but they don't roll down.
Robble.
And the first one up is, so the way this works is each of us have submitted a list to each other saying, I haven't seen this, to which the other responds, I can't believe you haven't seen that, and then picks one of the films off the other person's list. So I'm going to be picking one of Max's films, and, well, you know who's in it.
Who?
Right.
No, who's in the movie?
Exactly.
No, I want you to tell me who's in the movie.
That's what I just said.
Well, what's the guy's name in the movie?
No, who?
Why are you asking me?
I'm not asking
you. Third base.
Yes, we're going to watch the Who film Quadrophenia.
Oh, wow.
Which has, amongst other things, Sting in it.
Stingy. Wait. Yeah. Who put the Y on that?
And for somebody who is into classic rock and roll, I am kind of surprised that you have never seen Quadrophenia.
Yeah, I know. It's one of the bunch of those films I've just kept meaning to and never did.
All I know about it is there's a bunch of people called mods and they ride around on mopeds and they're taking these drugs. What kind of drugs were they taking? These blues, man. They're taking these blues. But as we all know, blue is not a good drug color.
Nope, I suggest you try reds instead. Rock and roll doctor.
So won't you join Who and us next week for Quadrophenia?
Who? This has been a co-production of The Voice of Max and The Movie Wrench.